There have been a number of marijuana-related studies being published, and part of the reason why is because now we're seeing it legalized in certain states, whether it's for medicinal use or recreational use. And the University of Buffalo wanted to see whether or not smoking marijuana had any correlation to domestic violence. Now, they're not looking for anything specific. They don't know if there's going to be an increase or a decrease in domestic violence. But what they did find through their study was that domestic violence between a married couple where both of them smoke marijuana usually decreases. And so here is exactly what a researcher from the University of Buffalo had to say. Couples in which both spouses used marijuana frequently reported the least frequent intimate partner violence perpetration. So that's really, really good news. And again, this is a correlation. They haven't been able to find a causal connection there, right? But they did find a correlation. I think that there's a hypothesis or hypotheses that make sense
Just
in
make
this
the connection.
circumstance.
You're the person for it.
Hey man, I just have one question. Have you ever tried to fight when you're high?
There you go.
It doesn't work.
Right.
Or have a conversation.
Exactly.
Right. Nobody gets mad at each other. It doesn't. That's not the thing that happens.
Yeah.
I am sure people have committed domestic violence while high, but of course it goes down. Of course. Not a dangerous drug.
Yeah.
I don't do it. It's not a dangerous drug.
Right. This is interesting. Also, these findings were robust even after controlling for things like demographic variables, behavioral problems, and alcohol use. And now, the interesting thing about this is, so the Buffalo study is one of the few to use data collected over the course of decades to determine the question, putting it on solid methodological ground compared to previous work. The Buffalo study was funded partially by a grant from the National Institute for Drug Abuse. And remember, they've been on the record against marijuana. So the fact that they funded this study is good, because now all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? Here's more evidence indicating that marijuana is not something that's going to cause you to be more violent. And by the way, I don't know if it's necessarily good to advocate that people smoke marijuana to decrease domestic violence. I hope that it doesn't lead to that, right? Which, who knows?
I don't know. Anything that decrea's domestic violence is a win.
Couples therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
A half an ounce is nothing.
I don't know if it's great to be sedated to deal with your marriage, though, right? Where you're constantly.
I'm not saying that.
I mean, people
it's
drink
not
to
going
deal with
save
their
a marriage,
marriages.
but it might save somebody from hitting somebody, and whatever. It's not a thing we should associate with violence. There, you can keep. Look, don't be super high and drive, or operate a forklift. Right. But like that's it. Like because you're slightly altered.
Yeah.
Isn't the best part of this story that this wasn't done by like the marijuana growers of America?
Right.
It's the greatest.
I feel like it gives it a little more.
You can't buy that kind of credibility.
Yeah, exactly. It gives it more credibility. It was partially funded by an organization that's against legalizing marijuana. So it's good. It's good all around. And there have been a number of studies that we haven't gotten to on the show because we've run out of time. But you look at other instances. Like for instance, there was a story that we were going to talk about regarding how in states where medical marijuana was legalized, opioid deaths or overdoses decreased, and they found a correlation there. So you're seeing all this good news coming out from states where they've legalized marijuana, and it's great.